Deanna here, and thanks so much for being here. So today's video is going to be a book review, and the book I'm reviewing is Percy Jackson, The Last Olympian. This is the final book in the Percy Jackson series, and I have just finished it, so I wanted to go ahead and make a video about it. So two things before I continue. One, yes, you may notice, especially my little nose, I am very sunburnt, so I'm in a little bit of pain. I didn't have enough sunscreen on my nose or on my back, so gotta watch for that. Definitely make sure you wear sunscreen because you do not want to end up red-nosed or red-backed like I am. So the second thing I want to mention is that this is the final book in a 5-book series, the Percy Jackson series. So there might be some spoilers. So I'm going to put up a big spoiler warning that if you have not read the first 4 books of the Percy Jackson series, you are going to want to stop this video. Do not go any further unless you do not mind being spoiled, because there's going to be some things that I probably talk about that have come from the previous books, because this is all leading up to this final book in the series. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch. Go read the books and then maybe come back and find out what this one is about. If you've already read all the other books, at least in the series, then you can definitely keep watching. And if you don't mind being spoiled, like I said, go ahead and keep watching. So I'm going to go ahead and read out my summary of what this book is about. This is it. Percy knows there's some kind of great prophecy about the child of one of the big 3 and their 16th birthday. And wouldn't you know it, this is the year of Percy's 16th birthday. So no pressure for him or anything. He and the other Half-Bloods have been working hard to train, plan, and prepare for the biggest battle of their lives. Kronos has been gathering forces and building his own strength, and Percy knows he plans to destroy Olympus. But Percy's friend Nico has a plan too. A risky plan that may just tip the scale in Percy's favor. But is the plan too risky, and will Percy survive it? There are some things worth putting your life on the line for. And with this final installment of the Percy Jackson series, putting his life on the line is just what Percy may need to do. So like my summary says, this is it. This is the big final book. This is what all the other books have been building to, is this moment. And this is the moment when Percy's about to turn 16 and find out how the prophecy is going to play out in this series, and what that all means is building all to this point. We've got the Half-Blood kids all working so hard to try to learn and train and work together and find out ways to survive and be the heroes that they all so desperately want and need to be. So there's so much at stake in this book. This is the final book, the big thing where all of the little seeds that Rick has been sprinkling throughout the series is all now finally coming to fruition. So it's a lot. It is really action-packed. There's so much going on that it's such an incredible read. It's such an amazing conclusion to this very incredibly exciting series that Rick has created. I love too that with the way Rick writes, and I've said this in a previous review of one of his other books in this series, is that anything that he mentions, it comes to play in some point. I'm not thinking of reading this, I can't think of any time when he sprinkled something and it didn't somehow play out. Like, I can't really think of any plot holes or anything. I'm sure as I go through and maybe do more of an analysis, I could maybe point out, maybe, you know, what about this or this? But honestly, reading this, it's like every little bit he wrote had some type of purpose. It had some type of meaning to it, and it all came together throughout the whole series, and that is really incredible to read and see it all come through. It's just a really great testament to the credible writing style of Rick's and how he did such an amazing job creating this series. This one was interesting because typically in my previous books that I was reading, I started annotating and then I started marking like, where's a new monster? What's a new monster that we meet? And this one wasn't really as focused on meeting new monsters because this is the final book. So it's not about really meeting any of the new characters or monsters anymore. It's really taking that foundation that Rick has already laid out, and like I said, all those seeds that he's already sprinkled about, and really seeing that bloom and seeing that grow. And now this is where it's finally the actual ending. So we're not really introduced to too many new characters. There's a couple new gods and goddesses that may come up, but it's not really new monsters anymore. We've got our antagonists, we've got that team and who we're fighting against, and so we don't really need to have as many new monsters that Percy needs to bump into to kind of stop him on his quest or his adventure, because he's not really on a quest anymore. All the other previous books have all been different ones where he had to go and save someone, or he had to go and find out something, and he was kind of going along on these quests and these adventures, and there was all these points where he would stop, meet someone, stop, meet another monster, and it was like go, 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 go. This one was a lot more of, let's meet some of those bad guys that we've already met and let's kind of see, and there was even a bit more of other characters really shining through in this, I think. It wasn't always Percy, though Percy definitely has his moments to shine as the hero that he is. There was also some moments where some of the other characters really played that big important part to come through as well. And I think that really spoke to Percy's character arc in a lot of ways, because Percy's character arc has been very much been someone who was kind of feeling a bit like he was isolated when we first met him. He felt like he didn't quite belong, and he didn't really have this great group of friends. And then as the series has progressed, he has just come through as this incredible character who has a really big heart, who's really loyal and really faithful to his friends, and is a really big advocate for the little guy, the guy that gets knocked down, the underdog. He has definitely been someone who has looked out for those types of characters, and now we're seeing that all kind of come to see this world that Percy has kind of built around him, and how much being able to create these friendships and these connections with other people is really helping him in this final moment, in this time of need, and this time of fighting the big bad guy, because the big bad guy is coming. He is right in the middle of destroying everything, and Percy doesn't really have anyone else to rely on other than his group of those friends and the other half-bloods, because the gods aren't really in a position to help Percy as much, and so Percy and the half-bloods have to kind of navigate for themselves. So I think that was really great how Rick did that, and it's just really a testament to the character that he created in Percy Jackson, and what a wonderful character that Percy is. So as I mentioned, there's definitely some new gods and goddesses though that we still do meet, because there's so many in Greek mythology that there's room to at least have a couple more that come. And there's also a very infamous hero that Percy meets, who does try to give Percy just a little bit of some sage advice to kind of help Percy on his path. however that plays out. You'll have to read it to find out, but that was just really interesting to see all these different gods. Like, again, I love how Rick just made sure to really stay true to the mythology of the Greek myths and the Greek history, and, you know, staying true to so much of that backstory of all the different gods and goddesses and the heroes and everything. It's just so incredible how he was able to do that, but yet make it so fun and so accessible for a whole new generation, and hopefully many more generations to come. And speaking of Percy's character arc, I also loved so many of the character arcs that we saw in this book. Like, we saw like people like Nico, who really came through. I absolutely loved how he has come. If you know, you read the other books, you really saw how Nico struggled a lot with his past and with what happened to him and his sister Bianca, and just everything that was thrown at this poor little boy that barely knows kind of his history or where he comes from. And Nico really shines through in such a wonderful way, and he's one of my new favorite characters that we definitely get to have more knowledge about, and he has his moment to shine, and I just love that so much. There's so many little parts where it's just so heartwarming of knowing more about Nico. And also, of course, then we also had Mr. D, or Dionysus. I apologize if I say that god's name wrong. I struggle with his name the most. But Mr. D, which was the camp director of Half-Blood Camp. Mr. D is the god of wine and madness, and he has been someone that's been a bit of a thorn in Percy's side sometimes. I was pulling a little Mr. D there, calling him Percy. That's definitely a running joke in this book, where Mr. D just does not say Percy's name right at all. Mr. D very much had his moment in the previous books where he very much did come through for Percy in some awesome ways. And so Mr. D continued to be someone that, though he's not right there, his influence is very much felt, and I really love just seeing him that much more supporting Percy, even though him and Percy butt heads a lot. Like, I love that bit of that character dynamic between the two of them, and the character of Mr. D is just one of my favorites as well as we really got to see more of the character of Hades in this book. And as we know, especially if you watch things like Disney's Hercules, Hades is the bad guy. Hades is the one that everyone points a finger at and says he's evil. He's the lord of the underworld. He's the outcast. He's the one that nobody likes. And so I just really love how Rick wrote Hades in this story, and the interactions that Hades has with Percy and Nico and everything like that. So I absolutely love seeing Hades' character in this and the decisions that Hades makes. So I'm not going to spoil too much, but I really did love Hades as well. I'm a sucker for Hades in a lot of ways. So overall, I just think this one is just such a beautiful ending to such an incredible tale. Like, I think it really is so fascinating how he had all of these plot points and all of these little things come together and really make this really incredible story at the ending. And everyone had a bit of their role to play, like Talia and Grover and Tyson, Nico, Percy, and even Luke himself. Like, they all had a bit of their roles to play, and I think it was just really well done, and I really enjoyed it. So this one definitely kept me hooked, and I read probably all from about here onward. I read that all last night because I just couldn't put it down anymore. I stayed up till probably about 1 o'clock in the morning just reading this because I had to know what happened, and I had to know what's going on and how is this all ending. And just, even though it was kind of sad to have to say goodbye to Percy and all of his friends and all the heroes, it was just so captivating reading it all. And just, I had to know, okay, how does this all come together and what is gonna happen, and oh my god, what about this? So it was very exciting and very enjoyable. Absolutely love it. One of my favorite conclusions to a series just really hit it out of the park, and Rick did an amazing job. So this one is definitely a 5-star for me, and I think if you have not visited Camp Half-Blood, if you have not picked up a Percy Jackson book and read this series, I really do encourage you to do it because it is such a fun adventure. If you love Greek mythology, this one is incredible because it has so much of it all sprinkled through it in such fun and animated and exciting ways, and a bit of new twists on it to kind of build it out, but just a lot of it staying true to some of the original too, so that it just comes together so wonderfully. And if you love like adventure stories, if you love those kind of stories about a boy finding out he has powers and becoming, you know, a bit of a hero, and having his group of friends, and being a bit of someone who has to learn his place, and like he's a hero in so many more ways than just because he has powers, then this one is definitely an incredible read. It is just so fun, and I really, really encourage anyone who hasn't picked it up to give it a read and give it a chance, and you might just wish that you could go to Camp Half-Blood as well. So 5 stars for me. Absolutely love it. Can't even say anything more because it's just so fun. Now, that is as spoiler-free as I can possibly be without really giving too much away. I had to kind of say a little bit from some of the other books, but this is about as spoiler-free as I can get. What I do plan to do, and keep an eye out, is I really want to go through, because this one is yet another book that I went ahead and annotated in this series, and I really want to go through and do a bit more of like a deep dive of the Percy Jackson, or more of like a deeper discussion where I actually do give a lot of spoilers. So I'm going to be like actually talking about a lot more without that spoiler-freeness, and it would be something that would give a lot of points away and just talk more about what all happened. So keep an eye out for that, because I do want to do that, because I think this was just such an interesting read, and it's just so fun, and the way that Rick did it, just it's something delightful that I really am inspired by and excited for. So that will be coming in the future, so keep an eye out for that, and definitely check back, and I will have that posted hopefully sometime somewhere on here on YouTube in the future. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give it a like. If you enjoyed the Percy Jackson series, then let me know below. And I definitely would love to hear any of your thoughts or feelings about the series, and any kind of discussion that you want to have, anything that you like to say about the Percy Jackson series, go ahead and leave that below. I'd love to hear it. So that's going to be it. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is, or wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourselves, and you will see me next time. Bye!